Well, President Jacob Zuma's attorney says he is disappointed in the way that the court has handled his client's matter. This comes after the Pietermaritzburg High Court issued an arrest warrant for the former president. Daniel Mancha says the team will, however, take the court's instructions and will consult with Zuma and his medical team.
And doubt the integrity of that document, and then decided that there was no evidence before the court that President Zuma is unwell. We are very disappointed. We will take instructions. I will communicate with his medical team. I will communicate with his entire team. And if President Zuma is fit to have a discussion on the matter, we will have a discussion on the matter. We will consider the reasoning of the judge, the basis upon which a warrant was issued, and we will take it from there. We handed a constitutional court decision to the judge. It is not the accused to prove. As you know, the basis of our criminal law is very simple. The onus is on the state. But in instances where the accused person is absent from court, the accused person has to give an explanation as to the reasons of the absence, and that if a doubt exists that the accused is not at fault for not coming to court, therefore a warrant cannot be issued. And in this regard, there was evidence before the court that the accused is not well. A medical report was handed from a military hospital, which, by the way, it follows their procedure, they are standardized, and for the court to ask that we should explain the abbreviation of that form, we find it.
Meanwhile, Jacob Zuma's family representative, Sbu Zuma, says the family is very disappointed by the court's decision. He criticized the court for ignoring the former president's reason for his non-appearance.
We are very much disappointed as the family. We didn't expect this. Whoever has been attending this court since 2005 without fail. Just that he missed his day today, and the reasons were put forward, but the court decided not to listen to those reasons, as if it's a person who have been misbehaving. So we are disappointed, but we believe that the legal team will study the judgment, and in consultation with Ubaba, they'll be able to chart the way forward.
Let's bring in our political editor here at Newzroom Afrika, Sbu Ngalwa, to come and give us a little bit more on this story. Sbu, it's good to see you. Well, it seems the president and the family very disappointed at this particular point for the decision taken by the courts. Unwarranted, they say, because really the president is not well. Did they submit any legitimate reason why he didn't show up in court today?
Well, the argument advanced by his lawyer, in fact, the main piece of evidence that he presented was a purported medical certificate. And it took a lot of time trying to convince the judge that this certificate is legitimate. One, I think there were issues that the judge raised, where he could not even explain the terms that were in the certificate, for one, but also where the judge asked whether there was any proof that the person who signed the certificate is in defect a medical doctor. Yeah. Thirdly, I think there was a note on the medical certificate which said that the evidence or the diagnosis or the consultation had been done in consultation with the, in fact it said the layman's opinion was given in consultation with the patient. Now to my simple mind that says, whatever, that's a medical person saying, whatever I wrote here, it's what the patient wanted. That's how it sounds like.
Examination. Yeah. I didn't get into the details.
So now you are faced with that as the judge. I don't think the judge could have come to any different conclusion. But I think the point we need to make, Chabo, that needs to be made very clear is that Jacob Zuma, the arrest warrant may have been issued, but it has been stayed, which means that Jacob Zuma is not going to jail as soon as he lands. All that the court wants him to do is that he has to satisfy the court or the prosecution that he is indeed sick. So between now and the 6th of May, when the matter goes back to court, it is expected that Zuma or his lawyers or his medical team would have satisfied the state or supplied evidence which actually probably is more convincing. So that's where the issue is.
How does this play out politically? I mean, is it a move that could possibly aggravate the Zuma camp in terms of how the courts have responded?
Jacob Zuma is the perpetual victim. He loves victimhood. It actually has benefited him greatly politically. So I think politically it actually advantages him because Jacob Zuma has always argued all along, despite the evidence presented and his numerous court or applications to delay his trial, that he wants his day in court and that he's a victim of political conspiracy. So this plays directly into those hands. I think that the judge was very clear. In fact, the judge explained that he has to treat Jacob Zuma as she would any other suspect, and that even just yesterday she had actually given an arrest warrant against someone, I think for drunken driving, faced with the similar facts. So she was not going to change that. But I think politically it does help Jacob Zuma, who's always argued that is a victim, because now how this plays out, the optics of it actually are not good politically. Because what they say is that this man is sick, he is seeking medical treatment outside of the country, yet he has an arrest warrant being issued. So I think it plays directly into what your Zuma's backers would want, as him being painted as the perpetual victim against a big, bad state that wants him jailed.
Well, Judge Zondo, I'm sure his back is also against the wall at this particular point, because it seems the health issues of the former president are now being used in a certain way for him to not appear in many of the instances where he does need to appear. He is due to also appear at the State Capture Commission. What does Judge Zondo do in this particular instance?
I think two things for Judge Zondo. Remember, one, that Zuma's legal team invited him to examine whatever proof there is that Zuma is sick. They did say that they were willing to show him what Zuma's ailment is. Obviously, they would show him that he would be able to access that information in camera, meaning that it will be outside of the prying eyes of the public. But also, two, there's the term of the Zondo Commission, because I think in terms of the timelines, Zondo's commission was meant to finish at the end of February. And if you look at Zuma's purported medical certificate, it's supposed to return some time around March or the end of March. So if Zondo, and you will also know that Judge Zondo has applied to the court for an extension of the commission. So this then means that if that extension is not granted, then Zuma would have gotten away without having to appear the second time. But if it is extended, I think it will still be an issue of legal wrangling, whether Zuma is fit enough to appear before Judge Zondo.
Speaking of legal wrangling, the president is going head-to-head with the public protector as we speak in that matter of the 500,000 that was donated to the CR17 campaign. Remember, the public protector was supposed to have looked at that particular donation, but she ended up looking at the whole entire campaign of CR17 and coming to the conclusion that the president could have breached the executive ethics code because it did not disclose that donation and of course not proven, saying prima facie evidence of money laundering, instructing the NPA to go ahead and do a little bit of investigation. That's the matter in court right now. What's at stake?
Look, I think the president, obviously his reputation is at stake politically, and also as the head of state, because lying to parliament or breaching the ethics code is actually a serious offense. So I understand why he would go to court. But the argument that is presented by his legal team today is actually that, because as we are saying, 500,000 is donated by Gavin Watson, but the public protector ends up looking into the entire campaign. I would say, from a public protector's point of view, if she feels there is enough reason for her to look further. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think it's the findings here. Because one of her main findings is that Cyril Ramaphosa, the president, personally benefited from this. And the argument that is advanced by his team that this was not money meant for his pocket.
Own personal presidential ambition, and therefore he of course benefited directly from that. And of course, the party, the ANC, has not actually come in support of the president to say, no, CR17 was part of a program of renewal of the party.
Now, you see, the difficult for the ANC here is that there were two presidential candidates. So both of them fundraised. It so happens that one, who happens to be the president, is the one who's under scrutiny for obviously what precipitated the whole thing being the Gavin Watson donation. So I don't think for the ANC, I think the least that they can do is to express confidence in the president, in that he's, and actually accept his bona fides and accept the evidence that he has presented to them. But I think for the president, though, he actually realizes that this could dent him politically, because the reality is, if you donate money to a campaign, is it then up to the recipient of that money or the candidate to declare that to Parliament or to declare to any other body as a personal gift? So I think those are the issues that are before court, as it were.
So we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming through. That is our Newzroom Africa political editor, Sbu Ngalwa, on that matter.